What happens when cities keep building higher? The labor pool shrinks and safety risks climb, yet windows still have to shine. Welcome to Industry Ignited, the podcast where we explore the leaders transforming how the world gets built. I'm Dr. Leeanne Aguilar, and today I'm joined by Michael Brown, Chairman and CEO of Skyline Robotics, the team behind Osmo, the world's first robotic-armed window cleaner. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Leanne.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to our interview. Lots of exciting innovation happening in your world, I understand.
Daily. I'm running after this to a building that we're going to be performing the first window cleaning at nighttime.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah, we'll get into this. Now, you've led multi-hundred-million-dollar businesses and billions in lifetime revenue. What convinced you that facade maintenance and robotics was the next big frontier?
so I was in distribution and services and within the office supply industry. And I had signed a 7-year non-compete after the last business was sold. But you're moving a lot of paper clips and things of that nature. Um, I didn't see facade maintenance. What I saw was that robotics and automation was really an industry that I wanted to look into. And I started to go down that path and started looking at assisted living. I thought that was a good path. And I was driving down the West Side Highway in New York City one day and looked up at the high rises, and I was like, I can't believe they clean windows by hand. And I then went and looking for technology to find to support what I thought could work.
Okay. So you really backed into it, looking at the technology first,
A
looking
hundred
at,
percent. And it-
yeah,
and it, and what's interesting is that uh, people have ideas all the time, and especially industry people have ideas all the time within their industry. This was just one of those things where it was just like, oh my god, it would just be such a no brainer if they had this, because I was thinking about robotics.
right. Yeah. And I mean, New York City, there are a lot of windows in New York City, a lot of glass.
A lot of glass, a lot
Yeah.
of glass, and we've all been kind of like afraid when someone all of a sudden pops up and they're like cleaning the glass. But it's an interesting thing that people get used to in New York.
Yeah. But like you said, I mean, it is surprising that the technology hasn't evolved and that people are still manually cleaning windows, which, now I think it's an issue because there used to be over 1,200 um, people window cleaners 2 decades ago, and now it's down to what, 650 or so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, with COVID happening, with I think you are seeing a deterioration. I mean, young adults can go out and they can get better opportunities today rather than from risking your life being 1,200 feet in the air or 1,500 feet in the air. And it's listen, it's a very difficult job. You're in unbelievable heat that's actually being reflected off of the building. And you're in like a tin can, and it's just you're hot, and then or it's cold, and it's just you're in a multivariable environment. So it's just a very unpredictable situation. So one, the technology didn't exist to be able to even do something autonomously in a multivariable environment. So it's for the industry, they didn't have technology. Now this is where you can start really bringing in technology on the outside of the building.
Right, and especially as the labor pool is aging. I mean, from what I understand, most of the window cleaners are over 40,
Yes,
and
76% are over the age of 40, with only about 8 to 9% below the age of 30. So you're really seeing this unfortunate people don't want to come into the industry.
mhm,
But with this of what we're doing, we're retraining and upskilling the labor force so that it's more of we're working with the service industry to augment their workforce, and that we're just a tool, right?
right.
So if there's a need for robotics in this area, and it can be done quickly and so forth, great. But we're going to need human labor over here, and we're going to need, each area is going to need its own technology. So one could use a squeegee, one could use a robot.
Right. So for operating, people are operating the robots, so they're still needed. It's just they're inside and in a more comfortable environment instead of
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, for us, actually, because of the regulations, there has to be a human on the top of the building outside, and that was before we even got involved, just for from a regulatory standpoint.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, but they're more comfortable and they're not hanging from the side of the building.
Oh, a hundred
So the
percent, a
safety.
100%. No,
Yeah.
it's a much different job description than what they're currently doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, you often talk about being corporate bilingual, comfortable with both boardrooms and boots on roofs. How has that shaped Skyline's go-to-market playbook?
Sure. So I believe in running a very flat organization, having people empowered and being subject matter experts. So to be able to really do that, you need to allow the people that you're hiring for specific areas to give you their expertise, get all the smart people in the room, and then collectively go out and do something of called putting something together. um, you have buy-in because we're all that involved. And I don't have an ego from that standpoint. I really like to surround myself with much smarter people.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree. I learn so much more from much smarter people and can get a lot more done. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
more of a people person. I'm more of a big picture person. I have ideas and then thoughts. And I've been doing this my whole career, more of bringing that added value to call it something that is needs to be automated.
Yeah, yeah, right. And multiple multiple smart people are going to innovate a lot faster. They're going to
100%.
add so much more value. Yeah. Now, you keynoted at Syracuse in 2024, urging grads to keep moving forward. What lessons from your 35-year career most prepared you to scale deep tech in a centuries old craft?
Mm. So I've really not. I've really tried to continue to focus on the employees and the people that are within the ecosystem, and investing in them, and they're then coming up with the ideas. I would tell you that the technology has been built with a tremendous amount of input from the industry. So we're coming at this in a collaborative way. So we want to be working with the industry. We're looking to redeploy, call it the workforce. So it's really, for us, it's investing time in people, in friendships, in relationships, and in business, because that's really where people feel good about what they're doing. They're empowered, they've invested the time and energy, they're getting, something back in return, and they're a part of something bigger. So I have found that to me, as long as I am trying to invest in people that can work within the people that are working in the industry and saying, hey, you go about this way, what would make your life easier, what would be safer, how would you approach it if I could build you anything from a technology standpoint. And it becomes a product that there's tremendous buy-in by the trade because they've developed it.
Yeah, right. So really listening to your customers, really hearing their needs and solving their problems and approaching it, like you said, from a relationship standpoint, so it's not adversarial, so they don't feel threatened. So
Yeah, I
they,
mean, everyone's so afraid of AI and whatnot, but I look at it as a tool, right? As a date. I mean, obviously, on the Chat GPT type stuff, it's more of a what I would say tool reference, but you got to be able to make your own decisions. And I think that humans are just going to have a different role
yeah,
than what they currently have, and they're going to be given an ability to kind of almost be all on the same playing field, right? Because we're all going to have the same tools, and as it gets rolled out, it will become less and less expensive.
yeah. Well, and I think we've already seen that happen. I mean, not just with AI, but in tech with technology in general over the centuries, and there's always a fear that comes up when there's a new, you know, disruptor, let's say,
Right,
in the marketplace, and there's fear. And of course, industries change, but like you said, there's just new opportunities. Things just look different. You're equipping them with a tool that makes life easier, that helps them have more free time to do other things they'd rather do, probably, even.
right,
Yeah,
right. It's just it's a lifestyle change, right? So if you know that like you can clean a building at night and your tenants aren't in the building, it's a better experience for them.
right. True. Yeah, that's a really good point. So give us the simple version. Like, how does Osmo actually work from rooftop setup to spotless pane? And where do AI, computer vision, and sensors make the biggest difference?
Sure. So, I mean, Osmo operates like a robotic arm mounted on the building's existing rigging that's there. So, from setup to cleaning, the system uses AI, LIDAR, computer vision to map every pane, detect all the edges, and apply the exact pressure and path for perfect coverage of cleaning. It's not just automating movement, it's digitizing the precision of how you're approaching the cleaning of the building.
Okay. So is it something like a robo, like vacuum, but for windows?
I would almost say yes and no. So we've got sense of touch, right? Because you want to make sure we're utilizing a six-axis arm just like a human arm. Good news is the human arm and is ours is longer, and with a force torque sensor and ultrasonic waves, we're making sure that we're not going to put our arm through the window, or that would for sure get us in big trouble.
Yeah.
So we've got sense of touch, right? And then from a vision standpoint, we're utilizing the LIDAR technology to map the building, right? No different than on an autonomous car. You're mapping the building. So we're using lidar from that standpoint, and then we have other sensors that are able to, whether it be an IMU, a force torque sensor, a cable sensor. Because we're a distributed robotic system. So you've got water coming from the rooftop that you need to be able to have algorithms for making sure that water pressure is not going to explode in the pipes coming down or the hoses coming down. And then you've got power and communications that needs to be able to move along a lot of data continuously without having any lapses. So you have a lot of different pieces moving in this. Our hardware, we're agnostic to, so it's all off the shelf except for a
Hmm.
couple pieces. Because in fairness, I can't be in the lidar business. By the time I build something, it's already out of date. So it
True.
just you just can't keep up.
Yeah.
So we've really focused on putting the different pieces together of the senses of what's needed to be really a vertical AI agent,
Hmm.
and allow it to manipulate and control the movements of cleaning.
Yeah. Oh no, that makes sense. And so yeah, it's easier to probably maintain that way to get parts and so
Yeah,
yeah, it makes it less
yeah. You're
expensive to right.
well. It's to be honest, it's a little more expensive because we're buying what I would say very off the shelf, like a KUKA arm, robotic arm. I could go and get it for 50% less if I would
Ah,
buy,
okay.
you know what I mean?
Right, right,
But
right.
it, but right now for us, it's about proving that the technology can work in many different situations, and which we've really focused on use case where the building that we're called cleaning. We've done it now where we've shown, okay, cycle one, we were at 19 days and, and 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Cycle two, we went down to 2 people and 13 days. Cycle three, we went down to here. And then tonight, when we start, our expectations are we're going to move that down to 4 days and, and,
Okay.
and 2 people. So even though someone might say, hey, listen, I really don't need you to be cleaning morning, noon, and night, knowing that the ability to clean a building that was taking 3 humans, call it 20 days to do, and now you're able to have the ability from a tenant experience, from a human experience, to lower that to 4 days, which allows for more buildings to get clean,
Mm-hmm.
which allows for carbon and so forth to get knocked down. And then when you layer in the mapping of the building where we're able to bring data, now we're going to really be able to provide an understanding of, quote, your building environment and the infrastructure and the integrity of the facade.
All right. So it's a lot more efficient process. You can do it a lot more quickly, and it's more sustainable, is what
Yeah,
I'm
it's
hearing as
just,
well.
yeah. I mean, it's from my standpoint, it's a you could have a human is able to clean, let's say, 2,500 square feet within an hour, and the robot is able to do it 4,500 square feet within an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, the robot can do it 15 hours in a row at 4,500. A human cannot. It's not physically possible for them, even
Right.
for 6 hours, to be able to do that type of manual labor where they're going back and forth and back and forth. So
Yeah.
there's just that repetitive situation that you just can't beat something that just doesn't need a break.
Exactly. There's no lunch break, no bathroom breaks. You can keep going, and
Yeah.
you know. So Osmo is a human operated. It's human operated from the roof, is what you were saying before. And
It's human monitored
okay,
from the rooftop, but
okay,
it's totally autonomous. It's recalculating.
uh huh,
It's using the LIDAR as its path. It's recalculating its movement 250 times every second because it's got to take into account the wind ratio that's happening. Even though you're harnessing the building,
mm-hmm,
there's still movement. So the arms are acting as counterweights with adding pressure over here while it's moving, then adding a little more pressure over here. So it's figuring things out while it's going on because it's never going to repeat the same, call it, path, even though the buildings like this, the building moves, things move. So
right,
this is one of those technologies today that is not, you just don't see it prevalent out there, to have these outdoor physical AI
right.
robotic systems that are working.
So cool. Yeah, super cool. And so a person is just monitoring it because of regulations, like you were
A
saying.
a
And
100%, a
okay,
100%. I don't, in theory, I could have it operating. I could be here in New York and the system could be in Timbuktu.
yeah, all right. And so your claim is like 3 times faster than traditional teams, and never misses a spot because of the way it's
Yeah, we're
mapping and
cleaning
everything.
the we're cleaning, and not only we cleaning the windows, but you're cleaning the sills of the windows, right? So you're able to go around and really get in there where normally they would take a squeegee and put it on the glass and avoid the sides.
Uh-huh.
We're there making sure that top, bottom, sides of that are being cleaned. And while we're there, we're scanning that for, what I would call single pane data.
Okay. Right. Ah, that's so cool. And are there metrics or what validation is there that the cleaning is happening? I mean, is there like a screen that the
Sure.
person can watch and see, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah. So we have a dashboard where one, at least the person at the building can now see where on the building the robot is, which windows have been cleaned, how many hours were they up there. So you now have at least just the basics, because people used to just come in, sign their name, and then they would come out, they'd leave, they would sign out at a certain time, and that was all the data that you had.
Right.
Unless they were to send you a note saying, "Hey, by the way, I saw on the 34th floor this window. I took a picture of it. This is broken." So it's taking that type of job and really giving it transparency, right? So now
Yeah.
we're able to, not only are we telling you where it is, but while we're scanning, we're literally taking video of the whole entire building so that you can look at it from an optical standpoint. We have other cameras that we'll be adding to be able to provide more of a whole 360 on the life cycle from the HVAC, right? So if the HVAC is working because there's air and water coming in through the windows, how do you detect that there is water or air filtration? So because we're so close to the window, you can utilize a hyperspectral camera that finds the silicone seals and then identifies what the erosion rate is.
Oh, wow.
So now I can say, okay, on the 36th floor, window number 24, you're at a 50% erosion rate on your silicone. So please check your HVAC, how it's running downstairs. And then you start talking about how do you bring this data and incorporate it through the BMS systems so that it can do the analysis to say, okay, how should we be heating the whole building? What kind of sunlight am I getting that's coming against the panes of glass? So, how's that being measured? So, you go into more of a predictive maintenance rather than what's really happened on the outside of the four walls has
Right.
been what I would say best practice maintenance.
Yeah. That is so cool. Right. So it's collecting data that can help inform the entire building
The
maintenance.
environment
And
that's
yeah.
being cool, making sure the environment is keeping it healthy, right? So if you've got cleaner windows, you've got more sunlight. If you've got more sunlight, you've got less germs. If you've got less, I mean, it's a whole trickle down
Yeah.
effect. So this is something that, once again, the technology didn't exist. And drones, even though drones can fly, they can't go high enough, nor can they get close enough
Hmm.
to be able to provide that type of data.
Right. Wow. So does Osmo like reach every window? It doesn't matter how high. Is there a height
It does,
limitation or
if the we utilize the rig that's there. If the rig can get there, we're there.
yeah.
And it meaning, like, if a human can get there, for sure we can get there.
Okay, right. And so what does it take to certify and ensure a robot for real buildings, like rigging interfaces, local codes, union workflows,
Yeah. It it,
whether,
it it's a process. So we took a chance, and we wanted to get through New York City regulation. So New York City, from a global standpoint, is the most highly regulated market for work at heights.
Mhm.
And we're a mature market. And I happen to live here,
Yeah.
and Ross, my partner, lives here, so we know some of the marketplace within the real estate industry. Not a lot, but just through friends and family. And we decided to go through the regulatory approval in New York, and that took 2 years. It took many meetings, going and getting approval to go clean at some iconic buildings in New York, them seeing it, saying, hey, we think you need an e stop, or so that, for the people, if God forbid something happens, they can hit a button. So there were different
Right.
things that they wanted to see to get an understanding of, okay, it sounds great, but like we're more interested in what's going to happen to the humans than, this being faster and everything else. So getting that, them comfort, then being able to train the union labor,
Hmm.
that all came together to be able to say, okay, yes, we feel comfortable that this technology is going to save lives, it's not going to hurt humans. It's a collaboration. If God forbid someone were to touch it, it would automatically stop.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this we had to build out as the regulators were like, hey, even though it's up top and there's no humans, what happens when you move it? Aren't you? So we had to build what they call an air skin, which is like what a cobot is. But there is just a lot of different things. Insurance we're working with, and this is new,
Right.
right? So when you're
Yeah.
building out an ecosystem that doesn't exist, being able to work with your partners, i.e., your strategic relationships with the people that you've gotten to invest in you, that's how you can really get the regulatory people to feel better that, okay, these people I know that they understand the business. They've now looked at it. If they feel comfortable, I feel comfortable. It's validation.
Right. Well, I guess it's probably a really good market to start in too, especially if they are one of the more regulated ones, because
Oh,
then you have your bases covered, right? So then,
100%,
yeah.
100%. So just in the U.S., New York and California have a special type of regulation, but then ocean and everything else covers the U.S.
Hmm.
But London has some special regulations. There's different places in the world that have a lot of regulations in regards to when you need to have a crane installed on a rooftop. So there's about 68,000 of them globally.
Wow. Well, that's a good market size. With the New York City labor shortage and taller facades, where do robots slot in first? High risk drops, complex geometries, or portfolio wide cycles and SLAs?
Sure, sure. So we have been working with our strategic partner, Durst, and Palladium, which is the service provider, the local service provider in New York, and with Alimac, which is the largest manufacturer of cranes in the world. They're in 120 countries, and we did a deal with them at the end of last year. So when we work with them, it's really where they want to go, right? So it's, hey, here's the functionality that we need to work first before you go run to building to building. So when you deal with someone that has a portfolio of buildings, right? 27 different buildings, you've got many different, no one building is the same. So and at this height, they have all their own nuances as an architect wants to be creative, right? Could be different geometries and so forth. So we try to take the approach of really, we were first working at what kind of height can we go to? So we were like 50 meters and 100 meters. So you have to build the technology from the floor going up. So we're now at 350 meters, which takes care of about 98% of the globe. But then, there are new buildings that are being built that are 440 meters, 500 meters, here in New York. So that will require some additional changes and research, but it's not like, getting from zero to the 350, that really, showed us a tremendous amount. And we've been able to really go through all the different tests because we utilize our market in Israel to test out. So
Hmm.
from a labor standpoint, which is what your first question was, is that we're training the labor and we're working with the labor right now. There is no formula. We're learning as we go. And as we continue to drive more efficiency and drive it to become more user friendly for the operators, then I think you'll start to see that in New York, you'll have where three people used to be on one window cleaning job, you only need one, but those two other people will be doing the same thing as the one. So you'll have three people cleaning three buildings. And that means that you're going to be able to raise the capacity of how much buildings they can do. And then if I'm able to show, which we've shown that it's going to go from 20 days down to 4 days, right? So now I'm augmenting my workforce and I'm being able to perform the cleanings much quicker.
Right.
So I believe that we can absorb a lot of that, of those jobs that went missing. And, there's been, especially because when you think of COVID and you think of people weren't working in the offices, and then you think of the interest rates that were going up that were then hurting the margins of the operating buildings. So the buildings were kind of like, I got no one in my building right now. They don't come to work
Hmm.
and interest rates are up. So I'm making less money. So why do I even want to clean? Hopefully there aren't people to clean my building. That, has all changed. The market has come back. People are back at work. They want their multiple cleanings. The tenants want their multiple cleanings.
Right.
So this is coming, I think, especially for the New York market.
Hmm.
This is coming, I think, the technology is coming at the right time. And I think this last piece where we get that nighttime approval where we can move commercial cleaning to nighttime for safer operations, both for pedestrians and people that work there, all the better.
Right, right. Well, and as we spoke about before, I mean, there's a shortage right now in window
Yeah,
cleaners. So making
there's a
it
short
so
in
yeah.
so many of those different industries.
Yeah. So it's not replacing roles necessarily, it's creating new ones as well. So rooftop operators, fleet managers, data analysts. And so there is a Osmo career path is what I'm
Oh,
hearing. Lots
a
of
hundred, a
opportunity.
100%. You've because even though we currently use the rigs that are there and we're using sensors, we will separate the sensors from called the rig so that all the buildings, whether they have a rig or not, can get that data because from a safety standpoint, it's very important and you're only going to be able to do that with humans.
Hmm. So is
So, yeah.
with Osmo, are you customizing Osmo for each building?
No, I mean, listen, the cleaning path, it's making its decision by looking at what the borders are, right? It like says,
Uh-huh.
okay, it's like paint between the lines, right? So it creates that border and it cleans it. No, I would say that there's different functionality and things that you have to be aware of in when you go from one building to the next. Different size sills. There's a lot of different nuances, but that is all being thought through by the different sensors of touch and feel on sight and being able to say, okay, this is a triangle. I need to be able to do this type of movement. Or, hey, this isn't a window while it's traversing down. I'll wait till I get to the window. I'm not pre-record. We're not recording it and saying, "Hey, every third floor there is, marble and not a window." We don't need to do that. It knows exactly what's there.
Okay. And then with the nighttime approval, did you have to add new technology for that?
So no, because LIDAR, you don't need sunlight. The only thing that we needed to add was to the rooftop for safety for the individual operators that are up there, so that if they need to move around up top, they can see. Most rooftops were not ever thought of to be utilized at nighttime, unless
Hmm.
there was a helicopter pad or something there. So we're now able to provide some lighting so that humans can utilize it safely, but we don't need the robots do not need any sunlight.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now you mentioned your partners like Palladium and Durst that helped you, cross the chasm. What makes an ideal deployment partner and what pitfalls should tech founders avoid in the prop tel rollouts
Yeah, I
with
mean,
prop tech? Hmm.
I would say that Palladium and Durst, one is my customer, which is Palladium, and then Palladium's customer is Durst.
Hmm.
Okay. And for one, I think you need to have all the different people that are in the um, call process, whether it be it's got to be the end user, the distributor, the technology. Everyone's got to be involved. And when we've gone into our to raise capital, we've gone to the industry because they understand what it is and what it takes, and they can really be a great partner. So they're all invested into the process. So if I were looking to deploy technology, I would make sure I have invested parties that are in each channel of the process,
Hmm.
so that you can have people want to make this successful.
Right.
And I think you want to, I would tell you that independent companies are traditionally better to work with because you want to work with the C suite. If you're working with yes, it would be great if I could work, if I was working with JP Morgan, if Jamie Dimon, I could say, hey, Jamie, I need to do this. That's not realistic.
Right.
But in most service businesses, you'd find, especially in markets like New York, Tokyo, they're independently run. They're not corporate,
Hmm.
because service is what wins. It's not always price, and it's got to be relationship driven. It's got to be. So that's why if there's a difference. So building relationships with those types of people that have skin in the game, I think is the most important piece to this. And I think you got to take a crawl, walk, run approach. I don't think you need to run and try to deploy in every single market and so forth. I think you got to get some time under your belt, learn how to incubate, create the model that's being able to provide very good service and so forth, and then go roll out to Tokyo or London or so forth. So, a lot of what we're doing is that specifically in New York.
So I know Skyline has raised around $20 million and is,
Right.
looking at London, Japan, Singapore. Tell me more about your global expansion formula.
Sure, sure. So, for us, we have gone to one. We have patents in Japan and Singapore were submitted in Europe. So one, we've gone to those markets that we have our patented technology, just to have that first conversation with the marketplace, meet some people, try to get an understanding of what their local market is, but establishing that relationship. So for us, London, we identified very early on as the second market that we would like to be in, with, I would say, Tokyo maybe being the third market that we would like to be in. But then if you throw in the Middle East, I mean, there are all these likes, but you
Yeah.
gotta, first of all, you gotta say, hey, I want this, but then you gotta find the right partners. And what we did was we went looking in London, and we spent a fair amount of time in London, and we got to know the service providers and what's going on with the customers. And we had the service providers come to our lab, and fly in and meet the people and so forth. So they are invested in time. Um, we are believers that they run the type of organization that we want to be associated with and that they can execute a plan, because that's what it's going to take uh, for it to be successful. I mean, anyone could take it. A distributor could take it from a defensive position, be like, "Oh, hey, listen, I don't want someone else to have this. Let me, take it." So we really want to have the local people who know the market, who understand their customers. I want to be friends with that person,
Yeah.
and be a partner with them. So it takes time, and I don't want to make the wrong decisions about setting up a service company when I don't know who the partner is and do they get good service, because big is not always the best. And when you're in the service industry, it's service, service, service. So I came from that industry. I'm now that what I would call the wholesaler to the real estate business services industry, and we're going to support them while their workforce is being augmented with robotics, because it's not just in my area, it's in the janitorial within inside the building. There are many different ecosystems of robotics happening today. So this is just the first time that we're going to join in, and that's got to be
Yeah.
through that lens of partnerships and understanding the ecosystem.
Yeah, and that makes sense, especially, I mean, with new technology, you've gotta find the right partners that will help you, implement the technology, respect the technology, and, if there's gotta be that trust and relationship in order for that communication to, go both ways, so if there is a breakdown, if something's, not right, there's that, yeah,
Yeah, and
communication.
if you're a startup, you know, people move slowly comparatively speaking.
Mhm.
Okay. Right. They have their business already. They're already, they're like, hey, listen, you're a small little, enhancement that I'm investing in trying to make it better. But I have a business already that I don't want to mess up. So for, managing pace and expectations of what's coming and how it's going to happen, that's also a big learning curve.
Yeah.
Because I sit here and I'm like, I can't believe I haven't signed a million deals already. This is like the biggest no-brainer in the world.
Yeah.
I've got physical AI, saves lives. It does this, and it's like, I'm sitting here, $100, please, but it really it's getting there, and we've been able to build the credibility. And obviously, when you see, people within the industry investing and wanting to be a part of it, you start to get more and more credibility.
Well, right, and I think people wanna see that proof of concept first,
Oh,
especially when there's
have to.
something new. And when did you first deploy Osmo?
So Osmo started to being deployed, I want to say in 2019, going out and cleaning buildings. But it went from a robotic arm that it was like in my opinion was like smoke and mirrors.
Mhm.
What didn't have AI really behind it. It wasn't autonomous. It wasn't making decisions. It was being preloaded. So until that got called, integrated and functioning, what is deployed, what isn't deployed. But so I would say that we were kind of, when we went in 2024 to DURS for the first time for the cycle to get approved by the regulators, I would say that that was the moment of, okay, you're ready for deployment,
Mhm.
and that really, you got regulatory approval.
Yeah.
And until you get regulatory approval, you could be, Houdini, doesn't matter. So the regulatory approval, I think, at the end of the year was very helpful. I think that the deployment now that will have done both daylight and nighttime, I think that. I think the fact that we're showing all of our results on the same building each time, so it's apples to apples, is
Hmm.
important. So it's trying to be able to provide metrics that an investor or a dealer or someone can say, okay, I see now what you're talking about. I see that it went from
Yes,
X to Y. I see that it's safer. I see there was operational efficiency. I see there was cost savings. I mean, so
exactly. Yeah.
it's building that story,
Hmm.
um, and it's being able to replicate it once you have created it, um, to the liking of all the different stakeholders in what we're doing.
Yeah. So you had the different iterations. You had, I mean, the technology has evolved over those years, and then you have the regulatory approvals and stuff. So sounds like you're very well positioned for
Yeah,
moving
and by
forward.
the
Yeah.
way, yeah, from our standpoint, and that's just on the existing built environment. When you really look at new construction, being able to the deal that we did with Alimac to be able to have an integrated BMU being delivered to your building once it's completed, and you in theory don't need any type of human interaction for being on the facade and putting them in harm's way. That to me becomes even better, so that you can really give, because these assets are only getting more and more expensive and taller and
Right.
bigger and in
Hmm.
harder work environments. I mean, if you think of the GCC, that market we very much like, as an expanding market for new construction, and there it's very hot,
Yeah.
and being able to clean at night when you're dealing with robotics
Yeah.
can be a real help,
Yeah. Yeah.
because electronics don't like very hot weather
Right.
or sand or dust.
Yeah. No, I think your value proposition is extremely clear. And like you said, I think it just had to get to a certain point and we'll probably like snowball at some point, just kind of like
I,
take off.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
we become ubiquitous like Kleenex.
Yeah, absolutely. So where else does Osmo's core technology, extend to? Like maritime holes, ag spraying, construction washing, like
Mm.
what other possibilities are in store for
So
Osmo?
so in the beginning of this, I started thinking about, oh, we could go here, we could go there, and then luckily Ross was like, we need to focus and let's just get the window cleaning done.
Yeah.
So we're very focused on this vertical market. However, we see maritime being a tremendous called sister market, for the technology, because one, they're using scaffolding just like we're using scaffolding here. Two, it's a monotonous type cleaning, whether it be power washing or whatnot. So when you look at dry docking, for instance, of all these containers, they're spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to have these brought in. They're there for 60, 90 days, and it could cost them 60 to $100 million to have the whole thing clean.
Wow.
So if you can knock that down by 50%,
Yeah.
it's a home run.
Yeah.
Window cleaning doesn't have those types of dollars. However, this is where the technology was. This is where we started to look into, um, and to uncover and approach the industries in a collaborative way. You got to really invest your time and resources in living within that ecosystem, going to the understanding the trade, where everyone's thinking, where they're going, because in real estate, when they're building things, they could be starting in 2012, and between going through all the process of land leases and environmental and getting approvals and getting this and getting, it might not be built for like 13, 14 years.
True.
So, and it takes probably 3 to 5 years to build a building
Hmm.
today. So, and technology changes over that time period. So you can't try to take the technology and have it be a fix all for everyone unless you understand what your that industry really needs.
Yeah.
When it's a B2B type thing, if it's a mass market where 94% of the people are using, a toilet paper that has 500 sheets, I don't need to go reinvent that,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Weird analogy, but
I get it. Yes. So, Michael, finally, big picture, what does a robot human city look like in 10 years? And how should leaders prepare workforces and policies for a safer, more automated skyline?
yeah, I think that you're going to see still that the physical world is not going to be inundated, I think, with all of these different humanoids and so forth outside in the outdoor environment. I think you'll see some automation out there, but I think what you're going to see is there's going to be a realization, which is kind of what we have gone through ourselves, that this isn't about replacing people. This is about changing the quality of life, taking risk and providing safety, creating a better urban environment where there is, cleaner air, better water, and a better experience for that living situation so that people are being taught how to be, whether it be a doctor or that type of professional, um or just something else, but there are just so many things that had to be done because they're needed,
Right.
and they're just better ways. And I just think it's a better quality of life. And I think that it can be done collaboratively. I think people need to understand that these are tools to be used. These are not replacements. You can never replace, in my opinion, human intuition,
Right.
emotion, and whatnot. And when you think about when and where you work and the amount of time that you spend, you enjoy the relationships that you make at that time, and like I said, you're investing in those friendships and relationships. So I think that it's I don't foresee there being a time at a certain level that it's always going to be human, because I think that that's how deals get done. I don't see a robot going and creating a peace deal between 27, nations
Right.
and so forth. So it's more about the people. It's more about people taking risk to go out and build something that they believe in. Um, and yeah, so I think that I'm excited about where the technology is going on a global scale.
Hmm.
I'm hopeful that it will be rolled out and allowed to be utilized. I mean, when I look at autonomous driving, if they would just allow everyone to have autonomous driving, God knows how many lives you would actually save. So, people like to look at it like, oh my God, there were 1,000 deaths in the car. It's like, hello,
Right. Right.
in non-autonomous cars, there are, multiply that times 100.
Hmm.
And, when you create certain society norms within the physical world, safety can really become ubiquitous throughout. And that's kind of those things I feel like are, while they might be a freedom of give up, what you get in return is our better quality of life, safety, and it just becomes more utopia.
Yeah. Right. Like you said, it means safer environment, frees up people to focus on other things, better quality of life all the way around. And it's just getting used to the technology. It's like you said, timing as far as regulations, policies catching up with
Yeah, it's
technology.
just like
Yeah.
it's just like, wouldn't it be great if you ever saw like Benjamin Button, the
Yeah.
movie where,
Yeah.
here we are, we all work so hard, and then when we finally make enough money, we retire, we can't even move to get up a mountain or move to go, on all these great vacations, and it's how do we create to live our lives when we're younger more, and then as we get older and wiser and have more wisdom, be able to do the called monitoring and advising because we can't move anymore like we used to do.
Right. Yeah. Now it is ironic. By the time you can
Yeah,
enjoy life, it's like, yeah, passed you by.
that's right.
Well, Michael, thank you for joining me today. It's been super interesting and insightful to learn about Osmo and Skyline Robotics and how you're reshaping the future of building maintenance and automation. I'm super inspired and really look forward to watching Osmo, you know, appear on all the building facades around the world.
And Doctor, thank you. Really enjoyed the conversation. As I think I said prior, I like went off on a tangent maybe a little, but really enjoyed it. And I wish you luck, and hopefully we'll have a really good cleaning tonight, and you'll hear about it in the news soon enough.
I hope so. Awesome. And for listeners who want to learn more about you and Skyline Robotics, where can they find more information?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, Michael Brown. We have LinkedIn for Skyline. But if you go to skylinerobotics.com, you can, see what the product is and, our journey. And if you were to go to, I think it's the allymacgroup.com, they're one of our strategic partners in the integrated BMU for new construction. And they have the exclusive and have really been working with us putting this all together.
All right. Well, great. To our audience, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Industry Ignited. And until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep igniting industry.